Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar for manufacturing businesses and the food sector. I'm Jeff, one of the co-founder of helloDarwin, and I'm with Samuel and Robin, our two grants specialists. So we have a loaded presentation today about different tax credits, grants, loans that we'll go over. But just before we start, I'd like to go over helloDarwin quickly, who we are, how we work, just to give you an overview of our processes, because we know we'll have a lot of questions about that. Then we'll do a deep dive into the grants for manufacturing, food processing, the tax credits, and also case study that we have for businesses. So who we are, what's helloDarwin? Basically, we're a company that will help you find different type of grants, loans, and tax credits for your projects. We've helped over 15,000 businesses realize their different projects. We are experts in sourcing, writing, securing government funding. We have over 3,000 grants available through our platform. We have an online platform where you can go and search different grants and tax credits that are available for you. You can also discuss with our AI that we've recently launched online. And we also have internal advisors on digital transformation. So basically how we work on a 3-year contract with an account manager. So this account manager is going to do a roadmap with you and look at all your different investments for your different type of projects. So if you want to commercialize, export, hire employees, train your employees, renovate your buildings, we'll look at these different type of projects and we'll find the right grants when they're available, when they're open. Once we find these grants, we will start filing these grants for you. And we do that on a 3-year term with you. So without further ado, I think I'll let my colleague talk, Samuel and Robin, on the different type of grants that we have. If you have any questions, please ask them in the Q&A, not in the chat. We won't answer the questions in the chat. We will only answer in the Q&A. We do have a lot of slides that we want to show you today. So we'll try to go over all of the questions, but we will try to take the most important ones. We cannot go very, very specific sometimes because every companies are different. Every grants are different and the eligibility will differ from one company to another and from where you're located on what you do also. So we'll try to do our best today, and we also have a session at the end for Q&As. Let's start?
Yes,
Beautiful.
Thanks for the introduction, Jeff. So I'm Sam. I'm one of the grant specialists here at helloDarwin. We want to look at the manufacturing grants. Most of these grants are actually eligible for a lot of industries, but are mainly aimed at manufacturers. So let's start off with the most interesting one. People usually say save the best for last, but I want to give you the cake right away. The Ontario Trade Together Fund is probably the most interesting fund that's available for manufacturers or a lot of businesses, actually. It's not strictly for manufacturers. It's recent, so it's to help businesses that are being impacted with the current trade war, tariffs, or the situation with our neighbors to the south. So basically, if you're looking to expand, buy a new piece of machinery, automate your processes, whether that be through ERPs or robotics, add a new facility, expand into different markets, OTTF is really the best program that's out there, or the one with the most sizable amount of funding. In my career, I've rarely seen a grant that has this much potential. So it's up to $5 million in expenses that you can include in this one. You have 2 years to complete the project, and they're going to cover up to 75% of the costs. There's no way to know whether it's going to be an interest-free loan or a grant. So once you send your approval, the government is going to accept it and then decide whether to give you an interest-free loan or a grant. But even if you do get an interest-free loan, they will forgive up to 30% of it, or 30% of it, if you respect the requirements you did during the application process. So at the very worst case scenario, it's a 22.5% grant with the rest of it being an interest-free loan. And then we're all crossing our fingers for it, but in the best case scenario, it's a 75% grant. And the best thing is you can stack this with the Ontario trade, the Ontario made tax credit. Also, usually grants will require you to hire new employees, create jobs. This is really to help businesses that are impacted by the tariffs. So rarely, but this is a great example. If you're not hiring, you're not expanding, you might be downsizing, you can still apply for this grant and have a really good chance of being approved. The next one we want to cover, and this one's also an interesting one, is the Advanced Manufacturing and Innovation Competitive Stream. Now, this one's specifically for manufacturers. If you're looking to innovate to allow your business to be more competitive, so mainly this is automation, robotics, up to $500,000 in expenses can go through this one. It's a 30% funding opportunity. Half of it's a grant, half of it's an interest-free loan. Now, you can also include technology costs, skills development, consulting, but it has to be a minor part of your project. The next one we want to look at is OMAP. So another sector that's been quite heavily impacted by the tariffs is everything related to the automotive industry, especially in the Windsor region. So if you're looking to modernize, automate, or do anything that's going to make you, be more competitive and stand out, you can apply for this program, which is up to $150,000 in grants. So up to $300,000 in expenses. And it's a 50% of the eligible costs. This includes software, training, adopting new technologies. And a lot of times when we, talk about the automotive industries, people think about making, concrete parts or building cars. It's a lot more large than this, and it only has to be at least a third of your sales that are directly going into the automotive industry. To give you an example of how this might go beyond what you're thinking, we had a client recently who manufactures shades. And one of the parts that they manufacture is little shades that you pull up when you're in a car, and they qualified for this program. So you might be eligible for this without thinking that you are. And then the next one that we have, and a lot of programs are going to be region dependent in Ontario. Southwestern Ontario Development Fund, there's the Eastern Ontario Development Fund that I think we'll cover a little later. All the counties that are eligible are listed on the Invest Ontario's website. It's up to $1.5 million in government help that you can receive, up to $5 million in expenses at a 30% funding level. Again, like we saw with the advanced manufacturing program, it's a half and half. So half of the program is going to be an interest-free loan, and the other half of it is going to be a grant. Now, this can cover growth, expansion, machinery purchases, leasehold improvements or improvements on the buildings that you have, varieties of training. There's a lot of expenses that are eligible here. And again, this is not only for manufacturers. So I know there's food transformers that are listening to us, maybe distributors. It's quite large what industries can apply for it. Obviously, when we think machinery, everybody goes to manufacturing, but a lot of industries are eligible here. And I think, Robin, you've had a few clients in the past that have applied for this.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. So then the next one that we have is in the Norton Investment Fund, Norton Heritage Investment Fund. This one's Invest Nort. Now, if you're investing in any Norton region in Ontario, and if you want to know what qualifies as the Nort, just go on their website and put in your postal code. They'll tell you whether or not it's a fit. They have a variety of programs: Invest Nort, Grow Nort. They have one for R&D, one if you're working with Indigenous communities. We're only going to present one today, but if you have any project in Ontario, make sure to look at what's out there to help you. There's definitely some financing or some grant programs. This one's a grant up to $200,000 in grants. They'll cover 50% of the eligible costs for building construction, leasehold improvements, machinery purchases, some investments in IT. There's a variety of expenses that are eligible, and there's a ton, I cannot stress this enough, but a ton of different grants that you can apply for in the North. It's something we see, I think, in a lot of different provinces as well. Governments want to stimulate investment in regions that are maybe underrepresented in the manufacturing and in other industries as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll do a quick pause because I saw a couple of questions concerning the recording. So you will have access to that presentation on YouTube online afterwards. I know it's a lot of information, but we will make that available for you guys because it might be hard to write down everything right now, but do not hesitate to send us your questions if you have some as well.
Yeah, for sure. And to add on that, if anybody wants to look through all the details, you can just take the name of the grant that we're showing, add helloDarwin to it, and if you go on Google, our webpage will pop up with all the details. I think all the information's there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So all these, we took the information from our online web app. So we do give access. We post every grant that we have online. So to make it available with the latest information, so you can have access to that quickly as well.
Yeah, I think I maybe even want to touch on that point in itself. When it comes to our website, I think it's very easy to navigate as well. Like you had mentioned, with everything that we're talking about today, you're going to be able to just hop in. We have our own tool that we've developed in-house as well that you have access to for free to get the information on these grants. But if you'd like to jump in a little bit more detail, please feel free to check out the website. We've got a few different packages based on your needs.
Yeah, and then with our grant finder, you can implement also all of your business criteria, your sector, your annual revenue, and it'll tell you whether or not if you're a fit or you qualify. So it can save you a lot of time of reading through those government pages as well, as I think we all do. So thanks for those questions, Jeff. The next program we have here is from FedDev Ontario. So this one's not a grant. I know everybody loves grants, but the next best thing after a grant's an interest-free loan. So this one's more for expansion. It's more aimed at manufacturing, but again, other sectors of can improve. I think we had a business. One of our clients was working in snow removal, had a concrete manufacturer, a concrete plant as well, and was able to approve a decent amount of financing here for some machinery. So this is a 50% loan. It's up to 50%. FedDev does say on their website that they prioritize requests that are below 50%. You can request up to $10 million in interest-free loans. This is for machinery, employees, salaries, wages, professional fees, software licenses. Basically, if you're expanding, you're probably eligible to this. And then it can be combined with tax credits. They do not allow to stack it with any other grants, which can be frustrating. And they'll prioritize businesses who already have access to other loans through the BDC or through private institutions. You can also approve a project up to 5 years. So it does look like a big amount, up to 10 million, but if you're investing around $1 million a year in machinery, you can build up to a 5-year plan and get a full help from FedDev on that one. I think, Jeff, you can touch on that a little bit, but usually businesses will see like, okay, well, we don't have a lot of investments in the next 6 months, but with these grant projects, some of them will enable you to apply for a multi-year project, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also sometimes we do have some grants that are popping up from nowhere that we discover with the clients that will add towards that. Every time with the budget as well, we have some new grants on the federal side, on the provincial side. So this can always change as well.
For sure, yeah. The landscape is changing a lot, and I think a situation that I see often is there'll be a grant with a minimum of $1.5 million to apply, and we'll meet people who are like, well, there's no way we'll meet that 1.5 million. We spend 600,000 a year max on machinery, but the grant's gonna have a 4-year window, so you're like at 2.2 million, you're a perfect fit for it. So it's just important to kind of read through the lines and figure out how we can make it work.
And we're also awaiting a lot of new grants, probably with the new budget that's going to be launched in November with the federal government. So we will do another webinar on that because this will probably change the landscape as well.
For sure. If you're looking to invest in AI, automation, productivity, a lot of amounts have kind of been flirted by that's the best way to say it, been flirted by the Liberal government. A lot of amounts, especially in AI, there's nothing confirmed, but we're talking of probably billions of dollars in different grants that would be announced.
Aluminum as well seems to be where they will send a lot of help.
And I think, especially given the current economic state of things, we're going to be seeing a lot of investment into Canadian businesses, and I think it's a really neat time to be at least looking into grants if you've never at least haven't taken the time to look into it. I think the Canadian economy is ready to really just start booming.
For sure, for sure. So going on to our next fund here for manufacturing. This one is specific, more specific to manufacturing. A few other industries might be able to qualify. So basically, NGen that you're seeing on the screen is not a specific grant or anything. It's a nonprofit that was created by the government. It's called Next Generation Manufacturing Canada, and they're basically a fund giver. So usually in a typical year, they'll open 8 to 10 funds. The last one just closed. It was AI in manufacturing. And there's probably one that's going to open within a month or two. So every month and a half or 2 months, they usually open a program. They're quite large scale programs. The last one was up to $8 million in investments. And usually, or almost every program I've seen in the past, is going to be a 40% grant. So it can be quite a large help. And they usually allow you to stack it with other grants as well. So NGen's a great fund giver. Obviously, it's nationwide. And usually for every application, they'll approve between 30 and 60 projects. So it's very competitive, but it's a bit of a golden goose, right? If you're able to get it, it's usually a few $1 million in grants. You can go on their website, see what projects they finance, and you'll see it's quite massive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of the main manufacturing grants. There's a variety, right? I think as Jeff was mentioning, there's over 3,000 on our platform. We wanted to go into the mainstream ones, but Jeff mentioned as well, there's a lot of programs from steel. I showed one in automotive, but there's quite a lot. So based on your industry, based on where you're located, there's probably a lot of other programs that we haven't touched about that you could apply for. Everything's specific to your industry. I didn't want to show grants that maybe only 10 businesses are eligible, but it's definitely worth doing some research. If you don't feel like these are a fit for your investments, there's probably something else out there.
Yeah, you need to think about your projects, your localization. Like different cities will have different type of grants as well, so different industries. But your project will influence a lot what type of grants you're eligible for as well.
For sure, your background as well, right? There's amounts out there for First Nations, for young entrepreneurs, for startups. So there's a variety of factors to look into. Of course, we can't cover the 3,000 today, but
absolutely not.
Okay, so basically I'll just turn it over to Robin here, who's worked with a lot of food processing, food transformation businesses all across Canada, to talk to you a bit about the main grants that you could apply for.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Sam. So I want to kind of really just jump right into it as well. As we've been talking about, there's so many grants out there, like Sam had also mentioned, over 3,000 different grants. And what I want to do is maybe try to hone in and focus on a few that are very specific to the food sector. For our food processors in Ontario, you know, whether that be in the poultry industry, dairy industry, and you name it, you're the backbone of this country, farmers, and everybody supporting just Canadian citizens. This one here, the Ontario Food Innovation Grant, so namely the Ontario Food Technology Pilot grant that's available, is really for companies that right now are at the cutting edge of developing and innovating different kinds of prototypes and proofs of concept. So this grant specifically will be helping you take things from pilot to go-to-market strategy. So really for companies that are more of in a startup phase as well, I know there's not a lot of grants specific for companies that are looking to really get into a good, healthy state when it comes to your annual revenue. This one here is really tailored for it. It's going to be specifically for companies that right now are going to be looking to drive IP-based production. So when it comes to the information on this, I know they're going to be pushing out a lot of intake rounds. One just closed up recently in the month of September. They're looking to at least open this up for another year or two. The next intake deadline we have is for November 6th. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to innovation, and like we've been talking about, I think we're going to be seeing a lot of boom and a lot of increase in different economic sectors. So for companies out there right now, and really, this is something that's going to be closing very shortly. And we've been
if I can say, November 6th is like right around the corner. So if you're eligible, jump on it. It's usually rare that grants are not like closed before the closing date because they run out of funding. So if it's still open, it means there's still funds. If you can get it, I would suggest you put a couple of hours on into it and then try to get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then something.
Go ahead, please.
Sorry to cut in, but something also you can see it says will close. It's going to close on November 6th. All the ones we talked about in manufacturing are currently open and taking intakes. A few in food transformation are closed, but what we do know is that they're going to reopen some
Every
point
year,
during
yeah.
the
That's
fall.
it.
They're usually yearly funds. And a lot of people say, well, perfect, let's just wait for whenever it opens and we'll work on that. The problem with that is the intake period is going to be very short, usually 2 to 3 weeks, and it's a first come, first serve. So if you think the grant's really interesting, odds are a lot of businesses across the nation or the province think the same. So they're going to apply for it. What we really want to do is build your whole application before it even opens so that the day it opens, you can just make the changes based on what the rules have changed. And within a day or two, you can apply. And we also have a lot of data on our platform, but the earlier you apply, significantly changes your odds of getting approved. I think you've seen that a lot with Can Export.
And what we've seen is when it's full, there's usually a waiting list. And the sooner you're in the waiting list, the better are your chances because some companies will be refused for X, Y, Z reason. And then you're the next one in line. So it's always good to apply even though it's full when you can and it's not closed and there's a waiting list.
Exactly. And that's really, when it comes to the grant landscape, and I'm glad you guys are touching on this, it really is an ever-changing landscape. And, what we do here at Hello Darwin is we're looking to be assisting you throughout the process so that when different grants open up, you're already ready to do those applications because it is vital and critical that, time is of the essence. And a lot of these grants, I know specifically as a company, we had experienced a very rapid closure on a grant that was said to be open at least for another couple years.
Yeah.
And you would think, okay, there's millions and millions of dollars in this fund. It's not going to run out. But you might open up today.
They always run out.
They always run out, right? That's through experience. We've seen this through and through. So really getting everything ready to apply is going to be very crucial and important. Just like in manufacturing, there's a lot of big grants out there, and agri-science when it comes to everything within food processing is one of those bigger grants. And this will combine really everything from research. So it's going to be from knowledge creation to development. So pre-commercialization of products all the way to the adoption and technology transfer phases. And what it really will touch on is just a whole slew of things, from salaries to the actual infrastructure, your different contracts and services that you're going to be hiring for this. It's also very big on universities and programs that are looking to do more research-based projects. Something like agri-science comes around every single year. And as you guys can see on the screen here, it goes up to 5 million, and you're covering up to 50% of these costs. So I think it's a great thing to take advantage of, especially if you have larger expenses when it comes to innovation within the agricultural section.
For sure. And just to confirm for this one, so for the food innovation one, you have to be pre-market, right? On agri-science, you can already have gone to market and be improving your product?
Correct, exactly. So the last one that I touched on is pre-market, bring it to commercialization. And with the agri-science, it can be almost at every stage of the actual project in itself. So what I know for the agri-science program in itself, what it will be focusing on is going to be a lot of animal health, a lot of antimicrobial resistance. That's something that's been a developing sector, especially after the COVID boom. And you would think, okay, COVID, agri-science, what do they have to do together? There's so many things where you have ideas of projects.
So yeah, basically, as soon as you have a challenge, you should be looking into this one because it's a big fund that seems to be helping on a lot of different aspects, right?
Exactly. So,
Interesting.
very interesting grants when it comes to food processing. I'm going to touch on, again, when you think of projects, when you think of different grants, we were talking about manufacturing, we're talking about food processing. There's so much in between that still applies to these sectors. So different kinds of grants for different kinds of sectors. Yes, there's sector specific, but we're always looking to stack on different kinds of grants, different kinds of programs that most people would not be aware of. You would think, okay, one that Sam had touched on is Engine. That's one of the larger funds where you encompass a lot of things. Same thing with the supply management processing fund here. What it's going to be doing is everything to do with your cost for purchase, installation. So it helps companies to be more competitive, especially in the current landscape right now with everything that we're dealing with when it comes to tariffs and the trade war. So everything with CPTPP, the USMCAA, this is a grant that looks to be tackling those kinds of sectors that are impacted by that. I'm going to be moving forward to here. When it comes to proof of concepts and innovators and developers of different kinds of food processing technologies, the proof of concept program is something that is looking for things that are not research-based, but what's going to be in scope is everything to do with natural or bioorganic materials. So think plant-based foods, think of natural products, so different kinds of ingredients that would be going into soaps, into your food, into your drinks. This right here touches on anything to do with that kind of more natural sector and space. What it does cover are multitudes of programs going up to 40%. So when it comes to the stage that you're in, it's going to be for companies that are looking from lab to near pilot. So again, we're touching on a lot of innovative companies. There's really not a lot of grants out there for I would say developmental stages of companies. So these are really cool grants to at least have a look at.
And then for the proof of concept program, this is still valid, right, for a business who's gone to market but is looking to develop a new line, right, or a new item?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's within the name in itself. It's a proof of concept. You don't necessarily have to be go to market already. You could also be at the stage that you're a full-fledged company and you're just looking to establish, let's say, a new range or a new ingredient.
And then depending on your readiness level or what stage you are in R&D or before going to market, this is one you could probably stack with the food innovation one as well, right?
Exactly. And that's something that's really neat about a lot of these grants is having the capacity to actually stack on different programs. So the ones I've touched on, you can stack different kinds of grants going up to 75% of the cost, which, there is something I think is very interesting to be able to work on a project and be able to still receive funding from different sources to cover those expenses as well. When it comes to strengthening the Canadian supply chain program, this one here is going to be focusing on the use of domestic ingredients. So it really focuses on reformulation of different kinds of products, as well as scaling them up for Canadian businesses so that we can be inputting these ingredients into already different manufacturing processes that we already have here. again, this is a grant that touches a lot on the uncertainty of the economic times when it comes to the trade disputes currently happening with the U.S. And it's going to be focusing a lot on the protein industry. So to kind of touch on projects that would be eligible, so reformulation of existing products, scaling up and commercialization of different products as well. So increasing supply, increasing the use of more Canadian-based ingredients for the Canadian market. And this will cover costs up to up to 5 million when it comes to different kinds of expenditures.
When you say focus on the protein industry, is it specifically for supplements? Does it include as well, meal ready programs, anything related to your protein diet, or is it specifically on only supplements?
It's not necessarily just supplements. So the word protein in itself, it touches on everything. So proteins could also be ingredients that are used, once again, in cleaning products, in products that you use also to bathe. So it really can touch on a lot of things. And this is where I think it's always interesting to explore ideas and concepts that you would have for different kinds of projects. Really, something that I find interesting for this one is a lot of grants will cover, a good 30%. A lot of these grants that are specific for food processing is covering, 50% of the costs. So I think it's really, it would be a big miss to not be able to work on a project that you're already going to be investing in and say, I missed out on getting 50% off. Why I'm already going to be spending $1 million. Why not keep another 500,000 to be able to put into another project?
Yeah. Next one.
And I think we've touched a lot on AI, and I think we're going to be hearing a lot of talk on AI as the years come through. For myself, something like AI has always been talked about, the last decade, but I would say in the last 2-3 years, AI has really been coming up to the forefront, and maybe something I'd like to touch on for ourselves here at helloDarwin. When it comes to AI, that's also something where we take a little bit of pride in. If you do check out our application, we have our own AI that we've developed here. So as our name states, we're helloDarwin. Our AI is called Charles AI, as in Charles Darwin. What that AI enables you to do is really be able to have another assistant to help you kind of decipher and navigate this kind of ever-changing grant landscape like we've talked about.
For sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, the fun giver here is Scale AI. When we were developing, hiring devs and interns, right, Jeff, I think Scale AI was our best friend for like a month.
Yeah, they are, and they are for our clients as well.
So I think Robin's going to touch on one program, one grant, but they have a variety of them. A lot have closed in the past, but there's a lot opening up, and Jeff mentioned the next budget's coming out. I would expect AI to be a massive focus. Mélanie, Jenny did mention a lot of investments are coming on that end.
We're expecting something on tax credit as well when you're going to invest in AI, and also solutions that already exist that you need to implement and not create. So this is looking really interesting.
Yeah, and there was a fund that opened really shortly this summer, for computing costs. So we're expecting that to reopen as well. So if you're paying a service fee monthly to have AI and paying a certain computing costs, there's probably a grant that's going to open up quickly.
Yeah. So,
all right, before we move on to the tax credits, I think
Sure.
I'll take a question. We have a few questions about pricing, which is a recurring questions for us. We're not here to sell anything today. We just want to inform the community about like what's available out there. We do have a base price annual fee plus a percentage on when you get that grant, but this is different to every business depending on like how intensive the labor will be for you guys. So I don't know if you want to jump in or add any infos on that, but
Yeah, I want to maybe add 2 points, right? Asking the price is a bit like asking the price for a car in some sense. There's a large variety from a Civic to a Ferrari. Basically, the goal for us is going to be understanding what's your business size, what are your projects, a bit like you're mentioning, what's the workload, so we can customize a price for everyone. The goal is that you're having a multiple X ROI on our service and the grants that we're obtaining. And then really the goal before we talk about pricing, make a service offer, anything like that, we want to qualify your projects and qualify that there's grants out there. So the first step would be, booking a call with either me, Robin, or somebody else of our team to kind of explain us where you're investing for the next few years. Right. So we can tell you the grants, what's the potential, where would we apply first? And then, if it's not a fit and there's no grant potential for you, we wouldn't want to work with you either and waste everybody's time. So the goal really is to find that potential. And then we're not trying to hard sell anything, right? If it's not a fit, we'll let you know.
Yeah, I think for any business, when you think about pricing, when you think about costs, it always comes up, like you mentioned, Jep, and we've seen this reoccurring over and over through the different webinars we do. It really is a custom plan. So we're looking to work with you based off of your needs and your projects. And what Sam had mentioned is, we're not just going to be working with you to work with you. If it's not a right fit, if there isn't anything out there for you at this time, well, we're just gonna part ways. But you always have the availability of information on different grants. So please feel free to just check out the website to check out the different grants available to you.
All right, so let's move on to the tax credits. So I'm pretty sure there's a few that you already know, but they're always there. So let's start.
Yeah, the main one that everybody loves in Ontario is the Ontario Made Manufacturing Investment Tax Credit. It's a 10% tax credit on 2 classes of investment. Now, I'm not an accountant, but if I remember right, it was Class 1 and Class 53. It's basically machinery and building improvements. It's up to $2 million a year that you can claim, which is amazing, although it's a 10% tax credit, so you have to invest $20 million to claim that, which not everybody's doing, but it's a massive amount. And then the good news is there is a proposal to increase it to 15% this fall. I don't know if it's a proposal. Has it been confirmed?
It hasn't been confirmed yet. So what the government intends to do is introduce legislation in the fall of 2025. So if that does get passed, it will be increasing from 10 to 15, which once again, it's going to be more tax dollars back in your pocket.
Exactly. And this you can stack on almost every grant or program or interest-free loan that we've talked about. So if you're looking at OTTF, it's a 75% funding, and then you're getting another 15% on top of that. And then you can stack it on the loan part, just not on the grant part. You're looking at 85% of a project up to $5 million that's funding. That could be massive, right? A lot of expenses are eligible for both of these. So it's really an opportunity to stack this with another program that's really interesting. And then the next one, I think anybody who does R&D has to know about SHRED. The list of expenses that can fit into SHRED, it's up to 35% of the salaries of employees that you're paying. There can be some external costs. A lot of them have been removed, though, in the last few years. SHRED is a very extensive labor. I want to mention we've done a few applications. The odds of getting audited, right, if I'm correct, Jeff, especially your first year, are quite high.
Yeah, and the second year is always usually the case. The first year is like, okay, go ahead. But then the second year when you reapply, they want to make sure, and you'll be probably audited 99% of the time, but that depends on your case.
Okay, yeah. So the rigor needed basically of your accounting on a SHRED tax credit is massive. But if you're doing any R&D, whether it's in manufacturing, food transformation, or a variety of industries, make sure to at least get an audit on these and see if you could be eligible and what you could claim. We'll be happy to let you know. I mean, even if you don't want to work with us, there's 100 tax firms that will be happy to let you know also what's the potential out there. So definitely look into SHRED if you're not looking into it and you're already doing R&D. And if you're doing it yourself, that's great as well. Maybe just try to get an independent opinion to see maybe if there's amounts that you're not claiming and you could optimize it. The next one is the Ontario Interactive Digital Media Tax Credit. It's not very popular for manufacturing or food transformation, but it is one of the biggest ones in Ontario. So if you're developing, video games, your labor, your marketing, your distribution, it's not just video games, it could be a TV series or anything like that. You can get up to 40% tax credit on the labor, the marketing, the expenditures related to the creation of digital media. Now, if you are a food or a marketing business and you have some expenses that are somewhat, sizable for anything related to digital media, I don't know, maybe we could try for our webinars, but anything like that that you're doing, let's look into it. I think there's maybe an angle that can fit, but it's really on a case-by-case basis. And then this one's quite interesting. It's mostly for sizable investments. It's the clean technology investment. Now, obviously, sustainability is a massive initiative for every level of government. This one's at the federal level. It's a refundable tax credit, which all of the others are. So what's great about a refundable tax credit is you don't have to have an owing balance to the government to claim it. So basically, it's almost like a grant, but even better, it doesn't count in your revenue, so it's not taxable. You keep more money than a grant, actually. So examples of this would be equipment used to generate electricity from solar, wind, or water power, some storage equipment, so massive power walls that you could store your solar energy on. It's really related to anything that's going to have a sizable difference, so not anything that's marginal. We're talking about investments that are either in the 6 or 7 figures. Thermal energy fits in there. So anything that's a sizable transformation would probably fit in there. If you're buying a few electric cars or switching a small piece of machinery, adding a solar panel, there might be some programs out there to help you for sure. I just don't think this one would be the fit.
Yeah. I think next we're going to be touching on a little bit of a case study.
Yeah. So we'll look into some programs that to some businesses that we've helped and how we've done it. Before we do that, I think I just want to recap a bit on tax credits. We presented 4 today, right? I think, Jeff, we've started doing tax credits a bit over a year ago.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely something we have a service offer in. We've hired experienced accountants that we've poached from a few top businesses here. But I think one thing we've noticed is there's really a wide variety of tax credit, and they're all industries, specific. So we presented 4, but I'd say depending on your industry, it's definitely worth looking into, right?
There's always in manufacturing. There's always something, or almost always something. In food processing, I'm not the expert there, but in food manufacturing, what I see, in manufacturing, I see a lot of untapped potential with our clients that they didn't even know they were doing R&D, and then they were doing it. So it's always good to look into it at least.
Yeah, and I'd say it's something that oftentimes people assume their accountant is on top of, and then when we start working with them, right, we're like, okay, well, there was like a $150,000 claim that wasn't done because they wouldn't think of doing the Ontario made tax credit or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So you always need to optimize, and sometimes they do what they know, and they can't do what they don't know. So this part is usually uncovered.
And usually the people who are paying a monthly fee or a yearly retainer to their accountants, there's usually a fee on top if they want those tax credits. So if you're not paying anything extra, it's worth looking into, right?
You're right. Absolutely right.
Perfect. So yeah, we want to present a bit of a case study of what we did for a food manufacturing business. Now we're going to be really high level. This was a business that had an investment of around $5 million. If you want more specific case studies, we can't share them on the screen, but in calls with us, we'll be really happy to look onto it. Basically, this business was looking to develop a new product line, expand it, grow in different markets, and then increase its productivity. Basically a 10 out of 10 project fit for grants, mainly buying machinery, modernizing and updating their assets, doing some R&D for that new product line, training their employees, international trade shows and business development. And there was quite a decent amount of studies and analysis from external consultants that we were looking at. So let's look at the grants we applied for. We kind of wanted to divide them here. So studies and analysis, FedDev, so the grant, the loan actually I was mentioning at interest-free would be a great fit for there. We did apply for it, but it's mainly on the machinery. We were just able to include a bit of analysis in there. The main one Robin was talking about that was a game changer for them was the Food Innovation Canada program. We got a lot of their go-to-market or pre-go-to-market studies in there, especially the labor of their internal employees. And then there was a SHRED claim on the internal time. Now, this dates a little while back. At that time, SHRED did enable external expenses, so we got quite a large return. They've cut about a decent amount on this, but we were able for this specific business to maximize it. And then the R&D kind of mixes in with the study and analysis part. A lot of R&D is study and analysis, right? So it's the same programs. The only thing that we were able to add as well, it's a program that a lot of people don't know about, actually. So a lot of people know about CanExport SME, which you can find at the top, at the bottom right. But CanExport Innovation is also very popular. So if you're developing any new technology, innovating, it can be in food transformation, manufacturing, and you need to go to trade shows or you want to meet with people who are in your industry, see what they're developing, or go to conferences, CanExport Innovation can cover up to 75% of that cost. And it opens 4 times a year. So if you have these expenses, it's really one to look into. And then there was the purchase of machinery and software training. So really everything that's concretely related to the productivity. We were very lucky for this business. We did get NGen, which was massive. And then it was NGen's aim for manufacturing fund. We got a small part of the loan on machinery as well with FedDev, combined everything with the Ontario-made tax credit. And then for the business expansion, we did CanExport SMEs for those international trade shows. And just recently, we started applying on the remission of tariff program. So if you're paying tariffs on stuff you're importing from the US, there is a program to get you remissions on that. So all of these investments look big, and this was a 7-figure return total on grants and loans combined. Also understand that this was a 3-year project. We've been working with this client for quite a decent amount of time. So those are the types of returns that we can get when we're looking at a full-scale project. Obviously, we want to make a very interesting case study that was a few million, but we work with businesses who have lower 6 figures investments, and we still find great returns there as well.
Yeah, so I have we're nearing the end, and I have an interesting question about like the NDA process. So I'll jump in onto that, but we're not like revealing any companies that we work with or project that you've done. We're not sharing that information unless you want us to. But that's really important for us, and we're legally binded in our contract when we start working with you. Some clients will also send us NDAs that we need to sign before just discussing like the sales calls and just entering the projects, because some stuff is really private. We do understand that. I don't know if you want guys to add any infos.
No.
Any financial service will have the same risks, right? But I think multiple clients will send us a template of an NDA that they have, and we're more than happy to oblige by it. All our data is encrypted through as well. I think our devs can explain it more than me, but we try to be as safe as possible, and we've never had any issue on that end.
Yeah, absolutely. And I maybe want to take a little bit of time to touch on what we just did with the case study. I think that was a prime example to just demonstrate when you think of the word project, you can almost think of it as just that one thing. I'm going to be doing the one purchase for one machine, or I'm going to be doing just changing up something on my manufacturing line. But really, when you think of projects in itself, you can extrapolate and just pull it apart to stack on different kinds of grants and programs that you probably wouldn't have even thought of. So it's really good to have a conversation with experts just to listen to the different kinds of projects and ideas that you guys would have.
I have a question on a tax credit, which can be, I think, hard to answer, but I'll try you guys anyway. So would upgrades to the grid count towards this tax credits? I'm not sure which tax credit they're talking about.
I'm guessing the Ontario-made one.
Yeah.
Do you, by grid, electrical
I mean,
grid? Or?
What I can say is usually when there's R&D, you'll probably be eligible to the tax credit. And the nice part about tax credit is you can usually go in the past, so you haven't missed anything about that up to a certain point, of course. But it's usually a case by case, and we need to do like an overview of your project to see if there's stuff that did you just do something, or you research and invested into like developing a new product, which is usually what a tax credit is for.
So
Yeah, I'm not sure I fully understand the term grid. That's my
Yeah.
bad. For the Ontario Made tax credit, when you're doing your expenses, you can ask your accountant. You can ask me if you're sending me the official quote or invoice. But it's quite simple. Anything that fits under class 1 or class 53. It might be class 52. I'm quite dyslexic, but it's right on the website. So if you're not sure, just feel free to reach out and I'll let you know. If you mean by like a grid, a processing plant, your purchasing equipment, yeah, that should fit for sure. If you mean your electrical grid, like you're changing your electrical panel, I'm not sure. There might be a way to explain it that it fits. I'm just not sure which class of investment it is.
Yeah, I think that maybe when we're talking about grid, that would maybe fall under the clean technology investment tax credit. So if it has anything to do with, electricity from solar, wind, water, and just stationary electrical storage, I think that would be the one to have a look into.
For sure, yeah, it's 30% instead of 10 or 15.
There you go.
I do have another question, which I think we'll need to clarify, but that's from Alex. We're looking to invest into a new chemical product filling line. What would be the best grant available to support this?
Oh, great question, Alex. There's a variety. It depends on where you're located, how much is the cost. If you're impacted by tariffs, OTTF is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, let's apply for that grant 12 times, right? If you're in Eastern Ontario or Southwestern, I think that would be my second option probably. So there's a variety of different questions to answer to figure out the best one. But I think either OTTF, Southwestern, or Eastern Ontario development funds, and one being OTTF and the other two, if you qualify based on your county, would be my second option.
And then you would have the tax credits
For
since
sure.
you're buying probably equipment to optimize it.
Always, you can combine it on the tax credit. There might be a part of the studies that we can get grants as well. There's a variety of options here, but quickly I would say OTTF.
And again, if you're like saving energy into your new line and you're even more productive, that's something we can look into again. So we really need to understand a project, because sometimes we can break it down into different type of grants. So it's hard just to answer like that, but you do have a lot of availabilities for you in your area. I do have another question. It was in relation to the clean technology investment tax credit. They have to upgrade their electrical grid in partnership with Hydro One to meet their power needs. So I think this is really specific that we would need to, this one is really hard to understand. So we would need to do a deep dive into it before giving you any answers that could be wrong on that side.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to give an answer. Basically, if you're just changing your electrical panel board or just adding extra capacity, to be fair, I don't think it would qualify for anything. We can look more in depth. There might be a potential I'm not seeing. But if you're adding solar panels to kind of combine some of what you're getting from Hydro One and then be somewhat self-reliant for a percentage of your electricity, then that would fit in the clean technology grant. There might be some municipal initiatives. I know the city of Toronto has one too. There's a lot of different local programs that I probably don't know by heart that we could apply.
Do you know, guys, what would be the best grant for electrical clean technology?
Clean electrical depends on your city. Again, the one in Toronto is really interesting. The clean technology investment is 30%. Southwestern and Eastern Ontario, I think there's not a best one. There's probably a best strategy on how to stack them together. Because if you're looking into clean technology, depending on your industry, the size of investment where you are, there's probably a few that we can bring in, stack together to get a 40, 50, 60% coverage. But definitely the clean technology grant, tax credit would be a significant one.
Perfect.
So I think that's it. I don't see anything that we can answer right now. If you do have any other questions, you can always contact us. I think we cannot go over everything today. So if you're a client already, you contact your account manager and you make sure that you file these grants. If you have something that you're available to, if it's an ongoing process, you can contact Sam and Robin. And if you haven't started yet, well, you can look online if you have anything that you see, or if you want to go and do a deep dive into your projects. Well, again, you need to contact us. Basically, always the same thing, but that's how we proceed. We also have the web app online, which with Charles AI that you can discuss with our AI to see if you have anything eligible and look into some grants, and he will be able to build you something interesting. But again, if you want to do a deep dive, these guys would be the
and if somebody's curious, they can go on our website, fill out our grant compass, right? It'll give them an idea of what's available. I think somebody will call them as well to validate that potential, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. So if you want to quickly look it over, you can go on our website. There's a grant compass. You'll just put your sector codes, your business revenue, what you're looking to invest, and it'll automate the research. Obviously, it's going to give you a lot more info than probably what's right, but more the merrier, right? And then if you want to look more in depth, feel free to reach out to me or Robin on LinkedIn, or I think our emails will be in the description on YouTube as well. And we'll be happy to look specifically into your projects and what's out there for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Have a good day.
everyone.